Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Spartan Nick, Detroit Julius, and Lions Adam here today. We got a nice old show for you guys. And your boy is back hosting. Yeah, I gave Nick the day off. He was, too tired, too much gassed up for this Michigan State game. But all in all, I know this wasn't really on the schedule, but let's spend a hot second on Michigan State. They're both top 8 teams, I believe. Michigan got a big win off of Nebraska. Michigan State got a massive win over Rutgers. Took all of overtime to take them down. So maybe they were looking ahead, maybe not. But Nick, confidence meter, 1 to 10. How confident are you that your Spartans can take down the Wolverines?
Well, I'm not gonna go full 10 by any means, shape, or form. That's not where we're at. Michigan is a very good team, and I'm a big proponent for the Ken Pomeroy rankings, the old Ken Pom rankings, and they love Michigan in them rankings, and so it's hard not to believe in Michigan. But I'm a state guy, go through and through. Find me at Roundtable Sports, Spartans Roundtable. I'll be writing for them all day, every day. So, of course, I'm going to pick State to win this game. Confidence meter, I'll put at a nice flush 6 out of the 10. So I like it more than a 50-50, and that is because of Breslin. We love the Breslin. We're going to bring it. It's sold out weeks ago. Now, when we play again March 8th to end the regular season in college basketball in Michigan and Ann Arbor, I don't know if my confidence will be up at 6. But in East Lansing right now, my confidence at 6. I have a 66-65 Michigan State victory tonight.
Ooh, I would say love that, but as you know, me and Julius are pulling for me and Julius are pulling for the boys in maize and blue. But I do gotta, give them some credit. Michigan has not won at Breslin in like 50,000 days. It's been a long time. I think the real number is around like 2,700 or something like that. It's close to 3,000, which it's around the same number where Michigan had beaten Ohio State that long up until last year. But Julius, give us a couple quick thoughts on Michigan. You think they're going to stomp them? You think it's going to be close?
Well, honestly, boys, I think Michigan is going to stomp them. I think no. Let me take that back. Michigan is going to win a close game for the simple fact it's in East Lansing. However, I truly believe that the Wolverines are the better team, more well-rounded team. Now, Michigan State could present some problems to Michigan defensively. However, I have great confidence in Michigan's offense right now and less confidence in Michigan State's offense, which is more middle of the road Big Ten. So I'm going to give Michigan the upper hand, 65-60.
I like it. Very similar scores. Yeah, I think it will be the unders 145.5. I do think it stays under. I'm going to go 72-65 Michigan.
It started at 140.5 as well, so it's risen 5 points.
Wow, that is interesting. What is up, bro? Keanu Yamaoka.
Keanu, love it. We got some people running in the chat. 49ers GOAT. I don't know about this guy, but man, I get Keanu. I don't know what he's doing over here, but hey, we love him, bro. Come on in. Let's hear all the 49ers takes, dude.
I mean, we also got Julius in the Pistons jersey, so what are we going to do? Not talk about the Pistons? And I know they lost a tough one last night to a Devin Booker-less Suns, and I believe they're on the road again for 3 straight games. They had a close one with Denver where the refs absolutely just tried to give Denver the win, but Jamal Murray couldn't do anything about it. Then we lost to the Suns, and now we're playing Golden State. So, Julius, talk us through a little bit about our Detroit Pistons.
I mean, times are great, fellas. Times are great with Detroit basketball. I mean, I just didn't foresee this kind of leap after making the playoffs for the first season last year. I mean, right now, I have high hopes for these Pistons. I have hopes that they can go all the way to the NBA championship. But the next week, I think it's a week before the trade deadline, that's heavy on my mind because I don't I think this team needs somebody else. I think this team needs to add a piece, but it doesn't seem like they want to. They don't want to give up too much young talent. They don't want to give up Jaden Ivey. They got a lot of draft capital. There's a lot of dudes on the trading block out there that we can add to get that Rashid level impact trade to take us all away. But right now, boys, I'm just riding the Detroit basketball wave. I'm shouting out the Pistons to everybody in Europe. You know, basketball is way bigger over here than football. So when I show up with the Cade Cunningham jersey, they yelling MVP in German over here for Cade. So I'm letting everybody know right now, go Pistons all the way to the NBA championship.
Absolutely love that. Cade, I believe, is currently third in MVP odds. Shai has a good lead. He's minus 400. I think Luka's like plus 400, and Cade sitting around at a plus 1,000, plus 1,200. Now, Nick, Julius was talking a little bit about trades, and of course, the big one is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is he a guy that, you know, you would want to go all in for? He's got 2 years left, so it's no guarantee that, you know, we have him for the next 5 years. We very well could just have a 2-year championship run and then poof, that's it. Or are you sticking to the young guys?
I am such a believer in the young guys. I've said it countless times that I don't really want to trade these guys away. It is starting to feel like Jaden Ivey and someone's going to be getting traded, I think. Like, I think that's happening. Now, that's not going to bring in Giannis. Like, that's not bringing in Giannis. Now, the question you asked me, I wouldn't mind bringing in Giannis for 2 years. Golly, I don't think that would be the worst thing, and I think it would be awesome. In fact, I would rather us get him than any other team in the East, because if another team in the East gets him, then we might be not looking so hot. But if he goes to the West, whatever. I will see you in the championship. I don't know. If he goes to San Antonio, San Antonio would be pretty scary. Ultimately, though, I'm not going to shy away from what I've been preaching this entire year, even when the going gets rough, even after a loss, even though I do believe what Julia said in that we probably do need another piece here to win it all this year. I'm still just going to believe in our boys that we have. And the last thing I'll say about this, and the last thing I want to do is go trade for Luke Kennard. Golly gee willikers, we got our token white guy. We don't need any more. Let's just keep it we don't need Luke Kennard. But there's a couple other guys that I do like being thrown around that's not Giannis, and I don't mind some of those trades.
Yeah, it seems like over the last probably 20, 25 games that Ron Holland especially, Jaden Ivey a little bit lately, have started to raise their value to the point of I don't think we could trade these guys. I know it would be easier to acquire a superstar with them, but they're starting to prove themselves more and more. Obviously, Osair is, I think coming into the season, he was one of the guys that was like, yeah, he probably won't be traded, and he's kind of solidified that. But the real talk was Ron Holland, Tobias, Jaden Ivey. Now, Tobias is on his last year, and I think he is the other guy with Jaden Ivey that could be on his way out. It would – I want to say it would stink because Tobias, he's been here the last couple of years. He's stuck with the Pistons, and he's played some solid ball. So I would really need to see a nice upgrade from that. But – let's talk a little bit about our other Detroit team that is doing so hot. The Detroit Red Wings. Boys, did you see that game last night?
Yeah, I did. That was crazy. Man.
Down 3-1 with a minute 50 left. You get, I think it did. Was it DeBrincat last? Yeah, DeBrincat. So we had a good one, and then the last time goal was the most fluky, craziest goal ever. I was watching at a bar. I was trying to figure out what had happened. At first, I thought the goalie caught it and fell into the net. And then I realized it bounced off and snuck in under his pad. And ultimately, they upheld the goal, went into a shootout. Larkin had missed by that much on his third penalty shot. And we ended up losing to overtime. But that point was a point that none of us expected to get, with 2 minutes left in that game. So we'll flip it to you, Nick. the Red Wings feel like they're not getting a whole lot of respect. They're sitting around plus 5,000 to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, there's some good teams out there like the Avalanche who are dominating despite losing 6 out of the last, I think, 8, and the Hurricanes who are also dominating. Do you think the Red Wings could make a run at the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I do. And it's because hockey is all about how hot you get, right, at the right time. Would I go bet my money on it? No, I'm not going to do that. I do not believe that the Red Wings win a Stanley Cup or even make the Stanley Cup this year. I do believe, and I believe the expectations need to be, we can win a series, very similar to where the Lions were at a few years ago. Just win a playoff game. And if you win a playoff game, you never know what happens. Maybe the other series, the 8 seed gets to win. It's not 8 seed anymore in hockey, but you know what I'm saying? The lower seed wins, and now all of a sudden you get to play a low seed who played a 7-game series and is exhausted. Now all of a sudden you can win that series and you're in the semifinals. Like, that stuff can happen. I'm not going to bet on it. I do believe that we are still similar to the Pistons. I said this earlier, where I wouldn't be surprised if we lost, not earlier today, but earlier in shows prior weeks, where I wouldn't be surprised if Pistons lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, not due to anything but just the inexperience of playing a full season and a full playoffs. That is just a grueling thing. The Red Wings just lost Edvinson to the IR. It's a long season. Hockey's a physical sport. For you to play a full 82 games this year, let's not forget, next year it's going to 84 games, but a full game next year, and then to go in and play possibly 28 games in the playoffs, or between 16 and 28 games in playoffs, that's to win the cup. It's so grueling on someone's body. I just am not there yet to believe that the Red Wings can do it, but I demand the Red Wings make the playoffs, and I expect the Red Wings to win a series.
Now, the biggest thing that's going on right now is the Winter Olympics coming up. They named Team USA, and they snubbed the 3rd goal scorer in the NHL. Alex DeBrincat didn't make the team somehow, some way. Julius, touch on, DeBrincat or any of just the Red Wings that you are noticing really stepping up their game.
I mean, DeBrincat has been, one of our best players this year. Him along with Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin really been pushing the top line for us. However, we're probably in a trade market in Detroit with the Red Wings as well. Just like the Pistons, I think we need a second line center or another defensive pairing to go with Sider just to get us over to that elite status. But shout out to Patrick Kane, another contributor, not as big, but another one this season. He just passed Mike McDonald, most points by a U.S.-born player in NHL history. And he did it in a Red Wings uniform. So shout out to Pat Kane. And we've been pretty healthy, but like I said, I'm not too keen on the names out there. I know there's a couple that are on the trade block in hockey, but the Wings might need just a trade to put them over the top. Both teams, the Pistons and the Wings. But shout out to Patrick Kane, best U.S.-born player ever. Red Wings jersey.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome how Patrick Kane was just a villain to the Red Wings years ago.
Villain, dude.
Chicago Blackhawk, we hated him. I hated him. And then he's on your team, and you're like, well, I kind of like this guy. And now it's getting to the point where, legitimately, if Red Wings go out and win the Stanley Cup, Patrick Kane plays some great hockey. He very well could be remembered as a Red Wing and not a Blackhawk.
It's nuts.
He's playing.
I don't know if that'll be the case, but I love it. He doesn't like Chicago. He doesn't like Chicago that much. They have a bad organization over there. They treat him better.
Indeed. Just like their football program, basketball, baseball. Well, maybe not baseball. White Sox, at least. The Cubs are decent. So let's talk a little Detroit Lions, though. There were 2 major coach hirings, I guess. You want to call them, I was going to say signings, but I guess it's the same. Regardless, Drew Petzing, OC from the Arizona Cardinals, drew a lot of, talk from fans where you got the casual fans seeing the Cardinals and how bad they were the last 3 years go, oh, wow, we got a Cardinals guy. Oh, that's terrible. But if you look at the Cardinals roster, they have like 1/10 of the talent as the Lions roster. He was driving a Prius over for Arizona. Now he's going to be driving a Ferrari. If he's a great driver, he is going to do numbers with that Ferrari. So, Julius, what's one thing that you're excited about with Drew Petzing, or just talk a little bit about him?
So, just like everybody else in Lions Kingdom fandom, I didn't get it. I did not understand this hire. Just off the list of candidates that were available, that were interviewing, I did not understand how
Very
he
random.
lived up. What was that?
It was very random. Like, it came
It
out.
was random. I mean, Mike McDaniel was a top name. Mike Kafka, who we're going to talk about later on, ended up signing him as offensive assistant. I thought he was had way more of a chance at the OC job just off play calling pedigree than Drew Petzing. However, we all done let it simmer a week or two, and now that I look at it, it's not we didn't really hire him to be an offensive coordinator per se, like the play caller Ben Johnson offensive coordinator. We hired Drew Petzing for offensive identity purposes, I believe. And when I say that, I mean by the way he likes to do things on offense, the way he likes to coordinate is things that connect with Dan Campbell's offensive identity, running the football, tight end incorporation, 12 personnel, 13 personnel. These are all things he even likes to get mixed in on the special teams. So I just think that this was more of an offensive identity hire, somebody we could bring in and can help secure the culture that we started to build the first couple of years here, and we kind of lost last year. So that's the way I see Drew Petzing 2 weeks later, just sitting on it in a positive mindset. It's all for offensive identity. It's not for play calling. Now, when we talk about Mike Kafka, that's when we start talking about the play calling and the structure of the plays.
Yeah, I agree. I was right there with you. When I saw that Petzing signing come in, I was a little puzzling, where I was thinking, did we even interview this guy? When did he come in? What happened? It's literally what it was. Like, you had a lot of the fans like laughing. Yeah, about a bunch of my buddies were saying, unserious organization, Brad Holmes is choking again, blah, blah, blah. He can only draft. Everything else he does is terrible. But you take a deeper dive in and you look at, what he was doing. He, in 2023 and 2024, he had the number 4 rushing offense, the number 7 rushing offense. And this is with, James Conner. I mean, I know James Conner's pretty good, but Jahmyr Gibbs is light years better. And then you top that off with what Trey McBride has done over these last 2 years, becoming a Travis Kelce-esque player, where he is just by far the best tight end, looked phenomenal. And it gets you a little, excited about what he could possibly do with Sam Laporta. So, Nick, some thoughts on Drew Petzing?
Yeah, we've been able to digest this now for a couple of weeks, as Julius has said, and I like both you guys' points, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now in life. Is what are the baseball-ish stats that we can find about Drew Petzing, like on a Tuesday when the wind's blowing less than 13 miles an hour, he has a top 5 rush offense? That's great. We love that. We love that. If we can find things that make us excited about having him, that's what we need in this fan base. I think there's enough media outlets that want to be negative, and that's no way to go into a season. But I will just state some facts. Brad Holmes is 0 for 2 on outside hires for the offensive coordinator position. Just like when he trades for a wide receiver, I almost don't know if I have the utmost expectations for this. Now, this is a hire, like if you asked a casual to name 5 offensive coordinators in the entire NFL, they would not be able to do it.
I had never heard of him.
And that's okay, because I don't think I could name 5 offensive coordinators in the NFL, and I do nothing but watch the NFL. it's okay to not know these young offensive coordinators that are coming up. That's okay. The main reason that the Lions fans were unhappy with this, in my opinion, was because his name wasn't Mike McDaniel or Brian Dabble or Kevin Stefanski. Like, if it wasn't a name that we already knew, then we felt like we were getting jobbed. But you guys remember who I wanted to bring in? That was Josh McCown. And I truly still believe that he will be a great OC when he gets the opportunity. But the fact of the matter is, you don't need to get a guy that everyone knows to be successful. Nobody knew who Ben Johnson was. He was a tight ends coach. In fact, Drew Petzing was at Ben Johnson's wedding. That's got to be something, dude. That's got to be something, dude. So I'm not going to sit here and try to be a slappy about this pick, about this hiring, because I don't have a lot of trust in Brad Holmes in getting an offensive coordinator. I hope he proves me wrong. The fact that I read that Mike McDaniel was loved by Dan Campbell, but the Lions brass didn't like him. And then the first thing he says in a press conference when hired in as the Chargers OC, that they like to run the ball and he's pretty damn good about making sure that teams can run the ball. And then you think about it and you're like, yeah, A-Chain was pretty dang good in Miami and pretty much the sole reason that they were even in games when Tyreek went down and Tua was out. If we're trying to get Drew Petzing because he is very good at run scheming, which he is, with Arizona, he was very good. It seems like Mike McDaniel may have been the better choice there. But I don't know. Maybe Petzing isn't an alpha. We got Petzing. We've got Kafka. We almost could get Tanner Engstrand back. Like, I don't know what this hire is. I believe in it, but I don't trust it. That's where I'm at.
I'm kind of with you. I think it's like a wait and see. Now, I've had this belief in Brad Holmes a couple times before, and I've been burned by it a couple times where it's like, oh, this is such a weird signing, weird draft pick, weird hiring. What does Brad Holmes know? He's got to know something. This is so outside the box. This is going to be a great hire. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think, maybe Brad Holmes does know something. And also, Petzing does check two boxes for me. One, he's under 40. He's not an old man like John Morton. He's going to know how to use JMO. He's going to, have a concept of the modern NFL. And two, he's got offensive coordinator experience where John Morton had 1 year, like 4 years ago as an offensive coordinator. And outside of that, he was a passing game coordinator. So Petzing, I think, will be a solid hire. But what makes me even happier about it is that we paired him up with Mike Kafka. When I saw that come in, that was just music to my ears. That was when I realized, you know what? Brad Holmes, he has something. He's got a vision in mind. These two guys are going to go hand in hand. I believe Petzing is going to be, heavy run game coordinator, and Kafka is going to, manage the passing game, where I think it'll mesh well. And I also do think Brad Holmes is on a mission. And the Detroit Pistons had the bad boys. We have the ball boys.
The ball boys.
So with Brad Holmes leading the charge, we now got two more bright, shiny heads that hopefully will produce. But Julius, talk us a little bit about Mike Kafka. The one big thing is that we actually faced off against Mike Kafka, and he did pretty dang well against us with the Giants. He drew up a crazy good trick play to Jameis Winston. He put up 27 points. They honestly probably should have won that game. But is Mike Kafka enough to, give you reassurance about, I guess, Petzing in a way where you're like, okay, I am satisfied with both of these guys, where if it was just Petzing, you'd be kind of, on the fence.
Definitely, Adam. I definitely see Mike Kafka as the supporting move to Drew Petzing hire. Just off of the framework of play design, game planning, quarterbacks. He's a former quarterback. I know y'all remember Mike Kafka. I don't remember what team he played for the Giants. I do remember him in a Giant uniform. Yep. He still looks the same. Dude hasn't aged a bit. But he is a quarterback mind. He's going to help Jared Goff. He's going to help Dan Campbell game plan. He's going to help Dan Campbell call plays. He might end up taking over play calling duties in totality. Honestly, I honestly love A+, the Mike Kafka hire compared to the Drew Petzing move, which I give more like a C+. I give the Mike Kafka hire makes the Drew Petzing hire a B in my book. That's what it complements. That's the supporting move I see Mike Kafka. I mean, is he the bridge between scheme and game management? More than likely. And so I just think this was the right move to make after the Petsy move. Bravo.
Yeah, I agree. And one of my favorite things that I read about Kafka was he was with the Chiefs from 2017 to 2021 as a passing game coordinator, obviously worked with Mahomes. And when Mahomes won his MVP, I believe it was his first MVP, where he had close to 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, and it was just one of the best seasons of all time. Mahomes himself came out and said, I credit this season to Mike Kafka. So for him to get a little indictment from Patrick Mahomes, that definitely makes me feel more confident. Now, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes is a little more talented than Jared Goff, but Goff can still sling it, and I'm still confident that we're going to see, an uptick in Jared Goff. And I think that's the small thing that Morton brought to the table. I believe Morton did help out Goff. He had a great season despite having no offensive line. He was dealing with some dropsies. And all in all, Goff played, a pretty dang good season. So, Nick, I know you talked a little bit about Kafka, but any other comments you want to make about him?
Yeah, I like the Kafka signing as well, the hiring as well. It's important to have good football IQ minded people in your organization. And Kafka's a great one of those. It almost though seems like, isn't there too many irons in this stove, or whatever that saying is?
Cooks in the kitchen.
Too many coaches in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, if we're not stepping on each other's toes, that's great. But we got Mark Brunell, Scotty Montgomery, Mike Kafka, Drew Petzing, and Dan Campbell all giving their 2 cents. And now that's great if you can work as a unison. You can work in unity and have this one collaborative goal and everyone seeing it and everyone on the exact same page, parallel daily. That's great. We've got ourselves a good situation, especially with the schedule we got coming up. I'm excited to see like that. It's irons in the fire. Thank you, Mary. We appreciate that. Anyways, what I'm saying is, if all of a sudden you get one guy starting to pull away, I don't know how it all unravels. It's like the multiverse and Loki holds it all together. We need someone to do that, or it's just going to be branches going everywhere. So I like the Kafka hiring. I like what Julie said, where it's like, I like that hiring a little bit more than I like my offensive coordinator hiring. But
we got 2 OCs,
Is that too many? I don't know. Like, outside of like New England having like 3 defensive coordinators one year, like no official defensive coordinator, but like a bunch of different, like, and they won the Super Bowl or got to the Super Bowl. Like, that's the only time I've ever really seen something like that happen. I don't know what Kafka is. Like, he's just offensive assistant. So like, yeah, I don't really get that.
You know who started off as an offensive assistant though, Nick? You know who started off? Ben Johnson. And this is kind of the staff that Dan Campbell started off with in his first year. Ben Johnson kind of rose from that. However, but Ben Johnson, fair to say, what was that?
Ben Johnson didn't go from offensive coordinator to offensive assistant. He was a 25-year-old 30-year-old offensive assistant who worked his way up, went down, and then worked his way up again.
I see what you're saying in Kafka's role, but I'm just saying that it's possible that somebody can rise from the staff outside of the coordinator role with Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell is the true architect of the whole thing.
Spot on, Julius. I think that Dan Campbell is the alpha. He's going to be the glue guy where what he says goes, where if he starts to side with Petzing, Kafka, you back off. If he starts to side with Kafka, Petzing, you back off. It's Dan Campbell running the show, pulling the strings, and let these guys be, the puppets essentially. And part of me also thinks that Kafka having a little experience as a head coach, it was only 7 games last year, but still some, that he might be, hey, you are a challenge boy. You are on top of the challenges and the clock management. Because as we know, Dan Campbell is not the best with challenges and clock management. And that is something that he's been scrutinized for multiple times in the media, where they just, kind of grilled him on, why didn't you use a timeout? Why didn't you do this? You could have called a timeout right before half and thrown a deep one into the end zone. And ultimately, I think Kapka brings a little bit of, veteran leadership to the table. Oh, who do we got here, Nick?
This is my little niece here, Riddles. She wanted to come say hi to everyone. She said,
Hi,
"Go
Riddles.
Lions!"
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
She's like, no, I don't care.
She's like, I don't like what Adam was saying over there. I don't believe.
Don't worry, she'll be a diehard Lions fan before you know it.
Yeah,
I'm getting a Riddles Lions jersey this year.
I know we do need to. Oh, I'll be right back for.
Well, Nick does that. I think it's solid. It's an interesting play by the Lions, and once again, it's got me thinking, like, what does Brad Holmes know? I highly respect Brad Holmes and his football knowledge, so I'm thinking he's a step ahead. He's got to know that these guys, are going to mesh well with each other. This is going to work out perfectly, but at the end of the day, Nick was right. You could have too many, cooks in the kitchen, too many coordinators in the kitchen, where, Petzing thinks, hey, we got to do a draw on a 3rd and 5. And Kafka says, no, we are absolutely passing this. But I think that's where Dan Campbell will come in and be that overrider of, no, we're going to run it. No, we're going to pass it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on with. There's a lot of we'll just see. We'll see, right? We'll just see. That's ultimately what it is. We can sit here, we can be negative, we can be positive. It doesn't matter. We got a full season. We got to get a couple good free agents and a good draft.
Yes, we definitely need to get some free agents. Speaking of free agents, I just dropped an article on the Lions page about 3 guys that I would love to have. Hint, hint. Tyler Linderbaum. I think that's everyone's consensus. But there's one guy that I absolutely love. He's playing in the Super Bowl, and that's Tyreek Woolen. Now, do I think we'll get him? Probably not, because we just went in on a cornerback last year, DJ Reed, and I'm sure Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell still have all the faith in the world, and Terrion. But at the end of the day, Ennis Rakestraw hasn't been able to get on the field. Terrion's got injury issues. Meek sounds like he's on his way out, and that's kind of it. So it wouldn't shock me, but it kind of would shock me. But before we get into some free agent talk, we do want to talk about that. Let's talk a little NFC North, because there were 2 big changes to the NFC North. The biggest was the Vikings fired general manager Kwesi Odofo-Mensah, if I'm pronouncing that right. But this comes very late, where the Falcons just hired their general manager from the Bears, and other teams have already filled their roles. And now the Vikings are kind of left with just the next man up on their roster. So it'll be interesting to see what moves forward. I kind of am bummed, because I did not think Kwesi was a good GM at all. They let Darnold walk. I think that played a big role into it. His last 4 drafts have been terrible. The only name I recognized was Jordan Addison out of the last 4 drafts. So it didn't shock me a whole lot. And then the other big splash was the Bears lost their offensive coordinator to the Ravens, Declan Doyle, young guy, 29 years old, just 1 year older than me, which is kind of crazy, thinking that a guy my age is offensive coordinator in the NFL. And I'm kind of curious what Ben Johnson's going to do. And also, let me ask you this, Julius. Do you think that if Drew Petzing was still, Lions never hired Drew Petzing, do you think Ben Johnson gives him a call?
No. I honestly, truly feel that he's a Dan Campbell hire, based on the whole alpha Dan Campbell, main architect of this Lions offense idea that me and you was just floating. I don't think Ben Johnson would see Drew Petzing and the offensive coordinator.
I mean, he was in his wedding, so I mean, you don't think that
I
friendship is
just
going to?
saw that just hit me, Nick. I forgot about the personal relationship. I just totally skipped over
I
that in my
actually
head.
wonder if that personal relationship is the reason why he wouldn't do it. That's kind of where I thought you were going. Like maybe they're too close.
I think maybe now that I think about the personal relationship, I renege on everything I said, and I say that it's possible Dan Campbell hired Drew Petzing based off his personal relationship with Ben Johnson, not wanting him to end up in Chicago and knowing something that him and Ben Johnson know.
Now, shout out to the Bears for having a solid OC, because this actually worked as a double whammy for us, because this kind of got overlooked. It just hit me now, where Scotty Montgomery was just interviewing for that offensive coordinator position, and he very well could have left to become the offensive coordinator of the Ravens. Now it's Declan Doyle from the Bears. So Scotty Montgomery will, I think stay with the Lions. For now. So he is obviously a guy that's rose up in the ranks. He's our wide receivers coach, assistant head coach. You see how well our wide receivers are doing. He was running backs coach. I think he will definitely get his opportunity probably next year, if not in the next 2 years. But which of those two, Nick, do you think is the more significant, loss for the Vikings? They lost their general manager this late, or if it's the Bears losing offensive coordinator, I guess, this late.
So this will be my last answer of the night, boys. I'm gonna have to run out. We all saw my niece here, so I gotta go around and play uncle for the night. But to answer that question, it is absolutely, in my opinion, the Vikings GM. Now, yes, I agree with what you were saying, Adam, as in like he is the guy he is the reason why the Vikings kind of like took a nosedive this year, which is great. Continue to have that. That's awesome. But the fact of the matter is, from what I read, was that they're not even going to be trying to get a new GM until after the draft. They're going to go through the whole offseason process with an intern GM, meaning Kevin O'Connell will probably have a lot more to say, which scares me because everyone knows I love KOC. He's my favorite coach outside of Campbell. But I think losing a GM before the offseason and through the offseason is just a crazy, crazy move. I just think
at the Senior Bowl.
It was at the Senior Bowl, and then 3 days later fired. Like it's nuts to me that they're even doing this. It shows me that organization doesn't know what's going on, and that's okay with me. You know what I mean? Like I am very much okay with Minnesota not knowing what's going on, but ultimately losing a GM at this point in time with no idea and no intentions of replacing him. That's crazy talk. That's only something the Vikings or the Browns would do. But on that note, I got to go. Love you, boys.
See you, Nick. Go Blue. I mute himself. We get him here. All right, Julius, it's just me and you now.
Yes, sir.
To wrap things up, we'll talk about a couple more segments, then we'll get out of here. We got I know you got bedtime coming up, but I'll be enjoying this Michigan game. So a couple interesting things that happened around the league. Aaron Glenn nuked his whole coaching staff, including Tanner Engstrand. It was kind of interesting where Glenn fired the defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, then Engstrand, who was the offensive coordinator. Do you have any interest in bringing Engstrand back? Because he wasn't really – I forget what his coaching position was for the Lions. It was like not quarterbacks, but it wasn't something high, and offensive coordinator was his promotion, though. So any interest on bringing Engstrand back?
Yeah, I have some interest just because his background with Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, familiarity. Crazy it didn't work out in New York with Aaron Glenn. Everything he kind of had to scapegoat everybody just to save his job. That's you go 3-14. That's what happens. But sure, I'll be interested in him. Why not? Add him to the offensive group, the offensive team. We got to come up with a nickname for these dudes.
Agreed, yeah. Then the other one is Jim Schwartz did not get the head coaching job for the Browns. Schwartz was very upset about that, basically said F you to the Browns. I'm almost positive he's not going to be coaching there this year, despite still being on a contract. Would you want the Lions to do something similar with what they did with Petzing and Kafka and bring in Jim Schwartz to pair up with Kelvin Shepard, or do you think that would, mess with some of the chemistry?
I'm just kidding, bro. No, I think Schwartz is kind of out of era for us in a way, and he's out of scheme. I don't think he fits with what Kelvin Shepard really does. You have to fire Kelvin Shepard if you bring in Jim Schwartz. He's like he's an alpha type, he'll just take over the whole defensive room. So unless there's some sign that Kelvin Shepard is coming in, Jim Schwartz will never be a Lion again.
Yeah, agreed. Now, we were talking a little bit about the Senior Bowl earlier. We'll each do 2 Senior Bowl prospects, 2 guys we got our eyes on. We've been talking a lot about Michigan, so let's keep the ball moving. Derek Moore, I think he's going to be a late round stud for someone. He's shown that he's got some power in the Senior Bowl. He had a couple nice bull rush plays. He was pretty solid for Michigan, despite not really having the best defense around him. But it seemed like Derek Moore and Barnham were kind of the 2 edges that, gave the defensive line some life. So Derek Moore will be my first guy that he's looked at as like a mid to early day 3 pick. Wouldn't mind him in the 4th round with, I think we do a 4th round pick with our pick. I don't know which it is, but 17th pick in the 4th round. Wouldn't mind that. And if he slides all the way to the 5th or 6th, I think Brad Holmes should absolutely hammer on that. I think it would be awesome to have another Michigan defensive end in the room because Aiden Hutchinson would immediately take him under his wing.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, he's been killing it at the Senior Bowl, and Derek Moore. People forgot about him because of the season that Michigan had, but he had production, double-digit sacks. He had 10 sacks. I mean, in the Big Ten, which is like the SEC now, everybody want to talk about, drafter. No. The most draft picks are going to come from the Big Ten, and the best team, one of the best teams in the Big Ten in this decade, right now, currently in the modern era, is the University of Michigan. And he had just add more juice. Him and Hutch. Brothers, Michigan brothers, Wolverine brothers, dominating in the D. I love the idea. Right now, I think he's looking. Did you see his draft projection?
Yeah, I saw around day 3, so that would be like
so like early 4 or 5.
Yeah, something like that.
I love that. I love adding Derek Moore in day 2, late day 2, early day 3. I would not mind it at all, especially the way he's been popping in Senior Bowl practice.
Yeah, and as of late, college football has been run through the Big Ten. You had Indiana go off this year, Ohio State win it last year, and then, of course, Michigan win it 3 years ago now. So the Big Ten isn't like, little brother to the SEC now. The Big Ten.
They're number 1 now, bro.
They really are, and it's hard to believe, but with all this NIL and money coming in, the Big Ten's getting legit dudes to come in, and now you're seeing the success of Indiana. Obviously, Ohio State's still doing it. Michigan. Then you have some other schools out there like Illinois. I know Penn State didn't have the best season, but they're always up there. And, of course, Oregon, USC, teams like that from the West Coast. So the Big Ten, if you get a stud that played well in the Big Ten, that says something.
Most def.
All right, Julius, give me one of your guys.
All right, so you took one of my guys, Derek Moore. I had a list of 3. The other 2 guys were offensive linemen because, let's face it, we're going to need to draft the offensive lineman in this draft, probably an experienced one. And looking at the Senior Bowl, just looking at the last couple of days of practices, a guy that stood out to me and a guy that stood out to multiple others is Jennings Dunker, offensive tackle / guard from the University of Iowa, home of Sam Laporta, home of quite a many offensive linemen, tight end, great blockers come from the University of Iowa. This dude is huge. He's big, athletic. He can move. He started all over Iowa's offensive line from tackle to guard, right tackle, left guard, right guard. Right guard is where I think he started the most games, but it might have been right tackle. His biggest strengths are his balance, his agility, and his overall tenacity during games and during practices as well. He's a known like his teammates don't like him in practice. He goes too hard. Sounds like a Campbell guy to me. I mean, he just fits. We need him. We could. He's versatile. He could play multiple positions. I think you mentioned earlier the idea of putting him and Tate Ratledge next to each other, and then having Panay Sewell right there would instantly could possibly form a bookend right side that's just exploitable for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And so his verse, he just fits all the way around. I'm gonna share a quick clip from X real quick. Some stuff he's done.
Yeah, I love him. Dude's just like pure grit, just like football, a redneck football guy is what I see this guy as. But while we're waiting for that video to get up, yeah, I think this dude would become Tate Ratledge's best friend. They both seem to be, like the crazy mullet, the, fierce tenacity, the grit type player, and I think would work well with each other. So, yeah, there he is, absolutely just laying the hammer.
Oh, he's big too.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, he'd go great next to Sewell. Next to Sewell and Ratledge.
Yeah, dude's a beast, man. Dude's a beast. I would love to have him. While we're still doing Big Ten guys, I'm gonna stick to it. I like how you had some offensive.
I got one more after you too, man.
I got two defensive prospects. I said Derek Moore. The other guy I like is Gabe Jacques. Gabe Jacques. Tongue twister there, but defensive end / linebacker out of Illinois. He had 11 sacks this year, 27 total, which is second all-time in Illinois history. And like we've been talking about, earlier, where if you get 11 sacks in the Big Ten, that's saying something. That's not 11 sacks in the Sun Belt, in the MAC. That is 11 sacks against the premier college football team. So Gabe Jacques, I think, would be a solid dude. Now, he is going to be, a little bit earlier than Derek Moore, so we would have to reach a little more on him. I think he's like a second-round type pick right now. But overall, he's a solid player. And Illinois has started to produce some solid dudes. And, of course, we know Kirby Joseph. So, Brad Holmes seems like he is keen on the Big Ten. He kind of goes all around, but we have had some of our, studs come from the Big Ten, Hutch. I guess you could throw Penny Sewell in there, Oregon, but Sam Laporta, Kirby. There's been some
Taylor Decker.
Yeah, I get, yeah.
Graham Glasgow.
Yeah, they weren't Brad Holmes picks, but, obviously Glasgow was brought in. So maybe, Brad Holmes was like, hey, Big Ten guy, get over here. So finish her up, Julius. What do you got next?
I'm going to add one more prospect here. Another offensive lineman. I'm going with my guy, Kalen Rutledge. We have Rutledge and Rutledge right next to each other. Offensive guard from Georgia Tech. Physical blocker, big leverage, big placement. He's known as a mauler. Like he's known as the best run blocking mauler coming out of the ACC this past season. Like I said, he will be a day one interior guard starter candidate, and he's been popping off big time. Right now, he's projected to go in day two, anywhere from late second to early third. But the way he's been playing Senior Bowl practices is very much possible that he goes off in the early second. So we'll see if he's available, but I'm just going to show a quick clip of him as well. He's been pretty good as well.
Yeah, them big beefy offensive linemen, and I definitely think that the trenches is where the Lions need to focus. I prefer they take an offensive lineman in the first round. I think that's just everyone knows the position.
And that could be Dunker. That could be Dunker.
But later rounds, you look to some edge rushers, some defensive linemen, and you stick to the trenches because that's kind of what worked with Brad Holmes when he first came in. He started with Penny, and then it was Hutch, and then Aleem McNeil, and it slowly started to build some trenches. And then we got Ratledge, who's looking very promising. So if we could just, beef up the trenches, have a great offensive line again, you see what the Lions could do with a great offensive line. And last year, it was, it's like a choo-choo train, man. It could do some wonders for the Lions, especially when you got guys in the backfield like Jahmyr Gibbs, Goff looking at weapons of Amon-Ra, Laporta, and J-Mo, where if he's got time, he is going to make those throws. We all know Jared Goff is a man in the pocket, where if he's got the time, he is going to make the throw. But if he's under pressure, he's not always making that throw. So I think that's going to do it for us today, though. As always, you guys can check us out at Honolulu Blues _ on X. Check us out individually at Everyday FFB for myself and the Fifth Top for Julius. As always, you guys can check out some of my stuff on roundtablesports.com. I just had another article on my top 3 free agents. A little spoiler for you. It's Tyler Linderbaum, Reek Woolen, and Kevin Byard. Yes, veteran. I think we're going to need some safety help.
We don't have a free agent show, bro. We got to have a free agent show.
Oh, we definitely will. I think that actually might be coming next, especially with, March quickly approaching. March 11th is the first day of free agency, so that's when it will really get serious. But, Julius, as always,